Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander. Aristocrats in the command zone. That's how you drain life, dude. That's how you drain life, brother. Sometimes in the darkness of the internet, the darkness of my own mind, people ask me from the void, Nikki G, what is Aristocrats? Well, that's a good question. Aristocrats decks get their name from cards like Falconwrath Aristocrat. Basically, you're sacrificing a creature for some value, whether it be scry, drain, cards, or some other buff. Aristocrats as a strategy is very tough to interact with because with sacrifice outlets like Viscera Seer and Carrion Feeder, you can respond to targeted removal, board wipes, even exile effects like Farewell by sacrificing your creatures and draining out the table. It may seem counterintuitive at first, but we want our creatures to die. It's like if an American billionaire was a magic card. Doesn't matter what happens to the little guys, as long as we're raking in the profits, you know what I'm saying? Orzhov is the perfect color combination for this. So let's read Elas il-Kor. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, you guys gotta give me a break. But first, let's get into the right mindset here. You gotta warm up on the subscribe button, give a wild uppercut to the like button, and leave a hearty yo in the comments. Come on! Elas il-Kor, Sadistic Pilgrim, is white and a black for a legendary creature. Phyrexian Core Cleric, it's a 2-2 with Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. All will bow to the Whispering One. Look at that sweet goth makeup. Got the glistening oil over there hanging out in a hellscape. Very Phyrexian. Très chic. So an Aristocrats deck is kind of like assembling a puzzle. You need bodies, lots of bodies. You need a way to sacrifice them, preferably for free. And you need some payoffs that win you the game. The tension is balancing all these elements to make a coherent deck that pumps out life loss for our opponents. And we can do this all for under 60 bucks. This is a budget deck. This can compete at a mid to lower level power table. No infinites included, but you can certainly slot them in if you feel the need. The first piece of the puzzle is bodies. We want lots of them. Doom Traveler is 2 bodies for 1 mana. The kind of efficiency that we want in this deck. Then we have Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. He gives us Decayed Zombie that we're happy to let die every turn. Chittering Witch is such a great underrated card. This thing is 4 bodies for 4 mana if we have a pot of 4 players. It can also be our sacrifice outlet and or removal in a pinch. These versatile role player cards are what Commander's all about. Ministrant of Obligation is also an efficient creature. Him and the Tithe Taker, his best buddy, are great afterlife creatures that can be recurred with cards like Call of the Death Dweller and Patch Up. These 2 cards can hit 30 creatures in this deck. You also have token producers that are very efficient to get bodies out on the field. Gather the Townsfolk, this is an efficient little card, and on the higher end you can release the dogs. Blot Out the Sky is X white and black for a sorcery. Create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying. If X is 6 or more, destroy all non-creature, non-land permanents. This is scalable, efficient, doesn't hit our creatures. At the absolute worst, it's giving us flying little bodies to mess around with and sacrifice. Okay, so we have about 16 or so creatures and or spells that are strictly dedicated to putting bodies on the battlefield. Don't forget, if we have 2 sacrifice outlets out there, we can just use our extra sacrifice outlet as an expendable body. So versatility and utility are key when building a budget deck like this. So now we want to sacrifice these idiots. I mentioned Carrion Feeder and Viscera Seer, those are 2 fantastic sack outlets. We also have Dockside Chef. We can pump a little mana into this guy, sack a token or whatever, and dig through our deck. Flesh Taker, this guy plays into the life gain theme and can pay off our sacrifice by letting us scry away lands or anything that isn't a piece that we need. Plus he's got a cool hat, he's out there in the corn, he's scaring people with his knife. What a knucklehead. Priest of Forgotten Gods is 1 and a black for a creature. It's a human cleric 1/2, has tap, sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black and draw a card. This is a sweet sacrifice outlet with additional value. This thing's actually starting to get a little pricey. Spawning Pit is 2 generic mana for an artifact. Sacrifice a creature, put a charge counter on Spawning Pit. 1 and remove 2 charge counters. You can create a 2/2 colorless spawn artifact creature token. We can sacrifice creatures for free anytime we want, then make more little dudes later. I love that there's just a cute little guy chilling in the middle of the pool there, living his best life. That's what Magic's all about. What a silly goose. The average converted mana cost on this deck is very low, so we're going to be playing out spells quite a bit and our hand might get a little empty. There's a bunch of these little draw spells that sacrifice a creature for cards, and they all have these little idiosyncrasies, but the prototypical one is probably Altar's Reap. It's 1 and a black for an instant, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. Altar's Reap also has a little guy hiding in the background. He's waiting to hop out and say, "Surprise!" at your happy birthday party. Probably the best of these little draw spells, and one I've plugged before is Plumb the Forbidden. This is about $2. Great card. It can be cast in response to a board wipe to trade our board for a whole grip of new cards. Yeah, this is a budget deck, but we can throw in a card that makes the whole machine really crank. Skull Clamp is the bomb. If we're going to spend $6 on a card, let's dig it out with Open the Armory. Alright, in total there are about 18 or so sacrifice effects or sacrifice outlets. I mentioned Pack Up, Call the Death Dweller, but we are also including about 9 total recursion effects, including Lurrus of the Dream Den. I know everyone hates Lurrus, but this is a fantastic card in this deck and he's really cheap. There are 30 total permanents that Lurrus can hit, so we sack them, we recast them, we sack them again like they're dang pinatas full of value. Priest of Fell Rites is 1 white and a black for a creature. It's a human warlock 2/2. Has tap, pay 3 life, sacrifice it, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Also has Unearthed for 3 white and a black. This is great because she kills herself and she can come back, reanimate something, and then she dies again. It's good, trust me. Okay. Lysa, Forgotten Archangel, is 2 white and a black for a legendary creature, Angel 4/5 with flying and lifelink. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one, but this is a fantastic card that's powerful. It's strong in an Aristocrat deck. It screws up our opponent's stuff and has a decent stat block and abilities. Welcome to 2022 where this is bulk. Alright, so creatures are dying, Elas, il-Kor is draining the table, so we win, right? Well, maybe, but we need to fuel the machine. We got Grim Haruspex and Midnight Reaper. What a couple of creeps they are hanging out in the night wearing hoods. Silly goose. Then we have Morbid Opportunist, which can draw off our tokens dying, but just once a turn. A lot of people think she's taking things from a dead body, but I like to think that she's giving something to someone who's asleep. And we have the old standby Zulaport guy, we got the blood painting guy, we got Happy Wine Mom. Look at Wine Mom out there. The kids are finally all at school. She gets some mommy time with the other neighborhood moms. It's nice. It's cool. Have a White Claw. It's 10 a.m. All the kids will be gone all day. Veto and Marauding Blight Priest trigger off each of our aforementioned Aristocrats and off of Elas. Once you have 2 or 3 of these drain effects out at a time, we get into this situation where we're recurring creatures, sacrificing, making tokens, doing lots of draining at the table, and hopefully we win. This deck doesn't need a ton of ramp because we top out at 5 mana value and our average mana value is 1.48 with lands. Aristocrats are fun, and Elas being in the command zone gives us a reliable, redundant piece of the puzzle. This deck can easily be reconfigured to have Lurrus as a companion, or it could be powered up. You could throw in expensive staples like Pitiless Plunderer. Or you could throw in an infinite combo with Revel Yark and Karmic Guide. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Listen, guys, cut me some slack here. Black also has tons of tutors, so you can just go get those pieces if you want. So check it out, goldfish it, give yourself the spirit of the aristocracy. Smash a few peasants against the wall of progress. Smash them in the head if you want to. Let them eat cake and all that. I like Elas il-Kor, and he's definitely going into a ton of decks from here on out. This is going to be Nicky G for Better Commander, signing off.